What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at Charizard EX. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's update video, I'm going to be taking a step back from the Monday through Friday grind as far as Pokemon when it comes to focusing on one deck, and instead we're going to be taking a look at a multitude of decks throughout the week, having multiple gameplays, things like that. So, to start things off, we are playing Charizard EX with the new set being out. I figured it was, a good deck to definitely test, and it's something that, is really good. So the essence of it with Charizard EX, when you evolve into it, you can search your deck for up to 3 basic fire energy and attach them in any way you like to your Pokemon. And then Burning Darkness does 180 plus 30 damage for each prize card your opponent's taken. So if your opponent's taken 5 prizes, you're dealing 330 damage. And with Mew VMAX winning the World Championships last week, Charizard EX is a super solid card to kind of deal with that matchup if you're wanting to, kind of play the best you can. Some of the other cards that we have in the deck are the Delphox. Delphox is in here for the Magical Fire. You can deal 120 damage, lost zone 2 of your energy, and then you can deal 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So against something like Mew VMAX, you are in the situation where you can hit a Genesect EX4 weakness, Genesect V4 weakness, and then you have the ability to snipe a Meloetta. So just going to point out real quick, my cat has decided to join today's video, so just keep that in mind, that if you see me moving my hand, it's because he wants pets and attention. Then we also have Victini EX. Victini EX is in here just for a consistent 220. It's really solid, especially when combined with something like Delphox being able to do the 120 into 220. And then we also have Radiant Charizard. Radiant Charizard is good in the sense that, you want to be behind on prizes before you start attacking. And in order to, benefit from that, Charizard EX does more damage, but then you also have the Excited Heart ability, which means that you are able to do 250 damage for 1 energy if your opponent's taken 4 prizes. And then this is kind of the rest of the list, just some search factors. We have Pidgeot. I'll throw the deck list up right here just so you guys can see, but we are going for pure consistency as we are running 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Artisan, 4 Rare Candy, no Battle VIP Pass just because this deck is kind of designed to be on the quote-unquote slower side, but you don't really need a whole lot of setup. If you can get Pidgeot out and 1 Charizard, you're basically good to go, and Pidgeot allows you to search for everything else that you may need, so it's super solid, especially for the late game. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. If you do enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in tomorrow's videos. Enjoy the gameplay, and yeah, later. Alrighty, guys, so we are playing Charizard. By the looks of my opponent's coin, there's a chance that we're playing against Mew, which technically speaking should be a good matchup, just because without them taking any prizes, we do have the chance to one-shot Mews, so I'm not too stressed out about it. I think it's just a matter of us being able to kind of set up, so our opponent will let us go first. I think a pretty clear indication that they are playing Mew, but again, we will figure it out as soon as the basic is flipped over. So we do actually mulligan twice, nothing too bad though. We do start Pidgey, Manaphy. I think I'm going to just start the Manaphy in order to kind of pivot. That way they don't have access to a lot of setup when it comes to, potentially swinging with Ice Q. Or not, yeah, the Ice Q's attack. So let's see. So we have Pidgey, and then we can just do a double Nest Ball. Sadly, we don't have an energy in hand, but I think what we'll do is just set up double Charmander, and then we can go from there. Mew might be a good pivoting option. So potentially, I grab that. I think right now I'm going to pass, see if they get the knockout, and then we can go from there. Because if we can get the turn 2 Charizard, we'll be in a super solid spot. And we do play 2 Charmeleon as well, so if we have to manually evolve like that, we can do that too. But it should, technically speaking, be a really solid matchup because Charizard EX does have 330 HP, so think we will just go from there and see. The only awkward math is that if we take 2 prizes and then 2, and then they have the VMAX out, we kind of have to go at an awkward pace of things, but it's nothing too bad. We can even use boss's orders depending on what we top deck next turn to maybe KO at Genesect if they do get a KO here. Unless they just decide to feed us the Meloetta, then, you know, we'll be in a solid spot with that. But the fact that we get to accelerate energy is even better. So they're not going for a attack with Meloetta. I think we're in a pretty solid spot. It sucks having to get rid of a Charizard, but I do still have the potential to draw into Rare Candy for 1 and go from there. And I think what I'll do next turn is grab a Charmeleon regardless, just so that way I can make sure that I can evolve. So our opponent uses Energy Mix. They search their deck for an energy and then attach it to one of their Pokemon. So we'll see exactly what they choose to do. They choose to grab another Fusion Energy. We do get another Research, so as I said before, I'm just going to use the Ultra Ball. We'll grab the Charmeleon. And then we can go Charmeleon into Research. And sadly, we don't get a Rare Candy, but there still is a little bit of hope. I think what I'm going to do first is we'll manually retreat the Manaphy, see what we can get here. And then, so we do get Rare Candy, so we could get the Charizard out and actually potentially take a knockout, but then that kind of gets rid of some of the acceleration that I want to go for. So I think I'm just going to Rare Candy into the Pidgeot right now. And then what we can do is we'll use Quick Search. Quick Search, we can grab the Charmeleon. And then next turn we have access to Charizard, and then we can grab Boss as well, which means that we can Boss KO the Mew. So it shouldn't be too bad. The only issue that we could run into is if my opponent plays something down like Path. Path to the Peak could mess us up a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. It would just be kind of awkward because we don't have a counter stadium and we would have to kind of wait a turn, but our opponent does have to waste. They have to have Mew VMAX, Boss, and another Fusion Energy if they want to KO the Pidgeot. And if they choose not to play Path, then we just come up with the return and then go from there, and we can set up another Charmeleon. So I think we're in a super solid spot. I could have played the Escape Rope and set up a Charizard, but I think getting the Mew was actually probably a little bit, or getting the Pidgeot was better. But now I'm susceptible to Path, so it's super awkward. But we'll see what my opponent decides to do. He can draw 1 card. He can draw 2 now off of 1 Genesect. So thankfully we will be able to take some knockouts. And if he leaves this Mew active, we'll actually be able to set up some math better. We don't have to use Pidgeot to grab something like the Boss. Instead, we can kind of go about it. But if my opponent decides to shuffle the Mew back in, we can actually target down this Mew, set him back a turn, and then go from there. So we'll have to see. But if they choose, okay, so they chose to evolve. And now they can Fusion Strike System for another 3 cards. And then from there, we'll kind of see what we can do. So there's the Lost City. So does our opponent have boss potentially. If our opponent doesn't have boss, we're in a super good spot. So let's see. Yeah, there's the boss. That is a little bit unfortunate, but okay, so he just chooses to go for a Charmeleon, which is interesting. I'm not sure I agree with that play so much, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. It just is a little bit more awkward than anything. Our opponent just goes for the Max Miracle for 160, and then from there. So we can promote the Charmeleon, and we do get Nest Ball, which can be useful. I think with Nest Ball, let's see. How many candies do I have left? Do we have 2 candies? I'm gonna grab the Pidgey just to be on the safer side of things. And then with this, we can Ultra Ball. We'll grab the Charizard, make sure I have enough energy to accelerate. So we do have 6 energy left, which is perfect. So we'll go Charizard. And then with the Charizard, we can accelerate the 3 energy. So we'll go 1, 2, we'll put a third on the Charmander. And then we can use Pidgeot to be able to grab a Research, just to thin through the deck as much as possible. And we do have Boss as well as some other things, which is perfect. We use Hisuian Heavy Ball. So there is Victini and there's Charmander. I'll grab the Victini just to be on the safer side of things. And then from here, we'll just use Burning Darkness for 420 damage. So hitting 210 plus weakness. Then our opponent has to kind of find a way to deal with this Charizard. And then we should still be in a solid spot. So our opponent needs to find... I don't think our opponent can do much now because they used one of their power modifications. So we'll just feed them the Mew. They could Judge Path or Rock Sand Path or Iona Path, but I don't know. I feel like we'd be okay. So there's the Judge. And if they can't shut off Pidgeot, we have the guaranteed win anyways. And we did draw into the boss. So boss plus switch, that means that we have game next turn, providing that I don't find a way to KO anything, but I doubt they will. The one thing I could potentially see would be if they hit for around 70 and then shuffle the Mew VMAX back in. But even if they do that, then we can just bring up this Mew and attack it and kind of get rid of their board potential. Or actually, I should have grabbed... Did I grab the Delphox? Is Delphox still in the deck? If Delphox is in the deck, then we can just KO a Genesect and then KO the Meloetta too. I just have to make sure I have a way to power it up. There's a Hisuian Heavy Ball. They grab a Mew off the prizes. Unfortunately, they only have one Mew set up, so if we target this one down, we'll be in an even better spot. And our opponent decides to concede, so they had no way of taking the W. So with that game being done, we'll jump right into the next one. Alrighty, so here we are in game 2. We're going to see what kind of damage we can do with Charizard. So our opponent is flipping the coin. I'm not sure if they picked heads or tails. They picked tails, so we will go first just so that way we can ensure the turn 2 setup. And let's see. I mean, this hand's not great, but it's not terrible either. It just is more awkward than anything. So we are playing against Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao can be a little bit awkward just because of the fact that it can hit for so much damage, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world per se. I am going to Nest Ball, however, for a Pidgey, just because if I can hit Rare Candy next turn, I can Rare Candy into the Pidgeot, and then Pidgeot for Rare Candy, and then play Research. So, and then we can get the Charizard out, excel some energy, go from there. So we should be in a pretty good spot. The only thing though is that Chien-Pao does have to get rid of at least 6 energy each time to KO the Charizard, so we do need to be a bit weary of things. And if we can actually bring the Lumineon up to take 2 free prizes, we'll be in an even better spot. So our opponent does Lumineon for Irida, so Irida's probably going to grab a VIP pass, and I assume a Frigibax or VIP pass in Chien-Pao, just so that way they can flood the board some more. So it is apparent that we get our Manaphy down, and thankfully with Ultra Ball we can't do that. So yeah, next turn we're not going to get knocked out. They're probably going to promote the Chien-Pao, so we need to try and be as weary as we can. The only issue too is that with Chien-Pao, it has 220 and we only hit for 210, so it's a little bit awkward. What's the retreat cost on Pidgeot? Pidgeot has free retreat, so let's see. I'm going to promote the Charmander just because if I do retreat into the Mew, or if I do hit Rare Candy or something, I can kind of figure it out from there. The only way that we can retreat though is with the Charmander, so let's see what my opponent decides to do here. So he attaches 1 to Chien-Pao, and then I assume he's just going to pass. And I'm sorry if you hear any banging. There's a really bad storm going on right now, so wind is kind of pushing on everything, but I'm going to see what we can do. So we do get the Rare Candy, which means we can Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Evolve, go from there. So that sounds great. So we'll Rare Candy the Pidgeot, and then what we can do is Rare Candy the Charizard, and then we can play Research. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So we'll grab the Rare Candy here, and then we'll go Rare Candy Charizard. We'll use its ability. In order to have some retreat fodder, I am going to grab 1 to put it on Mew, and then we'll just use Research. And we do actually get Manaphy along with quite a bit of other backup attackers, which is super solid. So next turn, let's see. I'm going to bench this Charmander just in case he gets knocked out. I can escape rope, use Mew. He has to bring something up, and then whatever he brings up I can take the KO on with Charizard, so I actually don't hate that. So yeah, we'll use the escape rope. I'm going to assume that he'll give up one of the Frigibax or the Lumineon. So he gives up one of the Frigibax, which is fine. And then we can use the Mysterious Tail just to kind of thin some cards. So we do get another Rare Candy, which is perfect. So we can actually Rare Candy into Double Zard if we wanted to next turn. I'm going to put the Charmander down just to be safe. And then we'll go here. And if my opponent decides to KO this Zard, then we can KO the Chien-Pao too. And we'll technically be a prize ahead. So I don't think we're in too bad of a spot. Not to mention either that we can KO the Frigibax or the Baxcalibur, which means that my opponent has to commit a lot of energy if they want to be in a sustainable spot. So I think KOing the Excalibur next turn will be incredibly efficient for me to do. So next turn I can Pidgeot, go from there. So our opponent does get Iono. I'm not sure if he's going to play it. If he chooses to, it's a bit unfortunate, it's a bit awkward, but it definitely isn't the worst. So there's a superior energy retrieval, getting 2 energy back. And if our opponent doesn't have 6 energy and they can only hit 300, that'll be actually super beneficial. I'm pretty sure they are going to play the Iono though, because they did get rid of 8 boss's orders. So they have 2 energy, they're getting 2 more, so they have 5 in hand, maybe 6. So I think they have 4 energy, Iono, and something else. Interesting. So let's see if our opponent just wants to go for the knockout. So there's 6 energy, and there's the Iono. So if we get Charizard, we'll be okay. Let's see. So we get Ultra Ball. We have access to Mew, so we can actually potentially get rid of this Excalibur. It really just comes down to what we draw. Oh, that's so awkward. And if my opponent goes for a second Frigibax, it's going to be really awkward. Okay, so there's the second Frigibax. So now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to just go for the KO on the Chien-Pao, which we do have because we do have Pidgeot plus Ultra Ball. It's just going to be a little bit more awkward than anything really. But I think our win con is Chien-Pao, Lumineon, and then one of the 1-prizers. So we'll promote the Charmander. And we do get Artisan too, which means that we can get rid of the Lost City. I kind of like the idea of using the Lost City though, so this is what we'll do. So we'll use Nest Ball, we'll get rid of Artisan. I'm going to counter the Lost City just because I only play 3 Charizard, and I want to make sure that I can efficiently get rid of them. So use the quick search with Pidgeot in order to grab one of our 2 last remaining rare candies, and then we can use rare candy. We'll go Charizard. We use the ability, so we can grab 3. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Let's see. If my opponent takes the knockout here, he goes to 2, so we can attack for 250 for free anyways. So then we'll just play Iono. And we do actually get quite a bit of good cards. So I'm going to attach 1 to the Radiant Charizard just so we can attack next turn. And then we can hit for 240 with the Chien-Pao. Now the only awkward spot is if he does take the knockout here. We have the 2-prizer, which is Pidgeot, on board, so it's going to be super awkward. We just have to, you know, ensure that we Iono and go from there. But our opponent does have 6 water in the discard, so they are going to have to resort to kind of going for Super Rod or Superior Energy Retrieval. And we're just going to have to hope that next turn, when we take this KO and use Iono, that we kind of do what we need to do. If our opponent doesn't swing this turn, we're in a super solid spot. And if they choose to swing, then next turn, I need to swing with the Radiant Zard. And then I need to find Iono off the Pidgeot, go from there, and see what we can do. My opponent uses Chien-Pao, so there's the Superior Energy Retrieval. They're going to be able to get 4 back and then search for 2, which means that that's going to be 10 energy, and I don't think he plays more than 10. So that means we're in an even better spot when it comes down to it, because then that means our opponent has to find superior energy retrieval plus another Chien-Pao off of an Iono to 2. And if there's no water energy to work with, then we'll be in a super good spot. So we'll have to see exactly what our opponent decides to do. I'm going to have to swing with the Radiant Zard in order to take the 2 and then go from there. So there's 6 energy. There's the Hail Blade. There's 360 damage. They do have 10 energy going, so we're gonna have to just see what we can do here. So we're gonna have to go for the Radiant Zard. And we did draw Switch. We're just gonna have to kind of thin the deck, so we'll see what there is with Artisan, just see if there's anything that we want to, you know, potentially thin. I think, let's see. I don't think there's anything that I want to thin, per se. I can go Mew. How many Super Rod do I have left? I have 1 Super Rod left, so I could Super Rod back in and go from there. The Charizard can hit for the 250, so I'm just going to have to quick search with Pidgeot, grab the Iono, and then hope that my opponent can't get boss. But at the same time, I should be fine, because if my opponent goes Irida, then there's no boss on the Pidgeot. And then if they do go boss, then they have to find boss, Chien-Pao, and everything, and that has to be their 3 cards. So I think I'm safe to use the Iono here. We do actually get Charizard, which is super solid, because then that means next turn we can rare candy into the Charizard and take whatever prize our opponent brings up. So here we're just going to hit for the 250 and then see what our opponent decides to do. Kind of coming down to the wire. It's either that they have the boss Evo among other things, or they don't. So there's the Nest Ball. There's the Chien-Pao. And even if they have superior energy retrieval, they have to discard 2 cards anyways, so they have to ensure that they have boss and superior and 2 cards to get rid of. So I don't think that that's going to be super, like, feasible. And there's the Irida, so that means the Pidgeot's safe. So there should be no way that we don't live unless he has, like, cross switcher plus something not fun. The only other way that our opponent technically could win that would be super awkward, well, no, he can't Iono us because he already played his supporter for the turn, which was Irida, so he can use Radiant Greninja. And then maybe swing with Chien-Pao, but even then the Charizard's going to come out, take the prizes from there, so I think we're in a pretty solid spot. So we know that 3 cards in the hand are waters, and then 2 other cards, but there's already supporter played for turn. He already used concealed cards. He can potentially switch, but if he drew like double cross switcher plus the 3 energy plus search with Chien-Pao, like, yeah, it would be awkward, but I don't think anything else is gonna happen. Our opponent uses Hail Blade. hit for 240. And then from here, we will be able to search out the last rare candy, evolve into Charizard, and take the game. So we'll go quick search, grab the last rare candy in the deck, and then we'll go rare candy Charizard. We don't need to use his ability. We'll just grab the 2 energy anyway. And then we can hit for a total of 330 damage. So hit 330 damage, and then just like that, we were able to take down Chien-Pao. So that's really it for the Charizard deck, guys. I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you do enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. This is kind of the structure we're going to be going for a while, until some other video ideas pop up. But as always, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video.